Donald Trump spoke tonight at a rally in Doral, Florida. It was his first major public appearance in almost 2 weeks, signaling that after 2 weeks of semi-silence, Donald Trump is ready to lean back in. President Biden, meanwhile, spent the day addressing world leaders in honor of the 75th anniversary of the NATO alliance and hosting a virtual call tonight with Democratic mayors as he continues to try and rally support for his re-election bid. Joining me now is Jonathan Martin, who is a senior political columnist for Politico. Jonathan, in the course of Donald Trump's rambling and typically semi-unhinged remarks tonight in Doral, he did challenge Joe Biden to another debate, albeit one this week and without moderators. That part seems less likely to happen. But I kind of wonder whether you think another debate is in store for these two individuals.
Biden would obviously like another one, and if he's still on the ticket this fall, he wants to get a second crack at Trump. I'm sure he'd like to get that do-over. Alex, I'm just skeptical that Trump would agree to a second debate. Now, look, it's Donald Trump, right? So who the heck knows? Maybe he'll do it because he can't resist the camera. But I think his advisors would strenuously advocate that he not do that because in all likelihood, he's going to have an advantage this fall in the polls. And why would he give Biden the chance to climb back into the race,
One can never know with the political animal that is Donald Trump, but that
Correct.
Seems to be right. And yet here he is on stage calling. I do want to ask, though, in terms of the Biden of it all, right? He's making calls to mayors. He had these meetings with governors. He's outreach to the Congressional Black Caucus. I mean, what do you think of his strategy to circle the wagons right now? It seems to be effective in some parts, but not all parts, because you also have U.S. Democratic senators, whether it's, John Tester or Sherrod Brown or Michael Bennet saying President Biden's going to lose.
I just have been speaking, most of the last, 3 or 4 days to members of Congress and governors who are trying to figure this out. And the common thread is just deep anger, Alex, at the president, his family, and folks in the White House. The Democratic Party is in an untenable position right now. Obviously, the president does not want to withdraw from the race. He wants to stay in. But Democrats worry he's going to lose, and he's going to lose by a considerable margin, and it's going to damage the rest of the party on the ticket. So here's part of the conundrum, is that if you're a Democrat in office right now and you put out a statement saying that Biden should not lead the ticket and he ought to step down, and Biden refuses to do that, well, guess what? This fall, the Republican Party is going to throw that statement back at you and say, you don't even want the guy in the race. You called for his ouster 3 months ago. How can you defend him now? So it's a really, really tough spot. Look, I think the Biden strategy, I wrote about it in my column yesterday, is to try to replay the 2020 primary. The liberal white elite don't like me, but I got the voters, the rank and file, working people, black and Hispanic folks on my side. And, I think that's working in some quarters, Alex, for him. He obviously has got some strong support on Capitol Hill, folks defending him. And so I think he's trying to ride this out by trying to reprise that strategy of the elite versus the rank and file of the party. Here's the complication. What happens the next time he has a bad public outing? And what happens also when the next wave of polls come out showing him losing considerably and hurting other folks on the ticket? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I mean, to that end, he will be having a press conference on Thursday, right?
Exactly.
And I sort of wonder what the risk-reward scenario for that is, given his performance in the ABC interview, which did not seem to quash concern, but it also didn't exacerbate the concern that already exists. I mean, what are the expectations on the part of Democrats about the strategy to put him out more, even in moments where he's not reading from the teleprompter, where he's speaking in an unscripted fashion?
When you're driving somewhere and you see a gas station or a liquor store right before a bridge and it says last chance for gas or last chance for liquor, I feel like this press conference Thursday, Alex, is like the last chance Democrats have, right? Like they're going over the bridge and this is it. If you want to pull over and fill up your tank or buy a bottle of bourbon before you go to a dry county or a dry state, boy, this is the moment. This press conference on Thursday, I think, If he hits the ball out of the park, obviously the pressure will ebb. But if it doesn't go well, I think you will see one final round of Democrats trying to get him out of the race. And you'll see, I think, some of these senators, especially, who have been quiet or been talking on background, go public and call for him to step out. I think that it's a high-stakes moment on Thursday because, time's wasted. Next week is the GOP convention. Trump's picking a running mate. This is really it. This is the week. This is the week. And that press conference, I think Thursday, will tell us a lot about where Democrats go from here.
Jonathan Martin, who's taking better highways than I am if there are signs saying last stop for liquor. I haven't seen one of those. Have seen the last gas stop.
You got to drive through some dry counties or dry states, Alex Moore. Exactly, right?
Yeah, clearly. Jonathan Martin, always great to get your wisdom, my friend. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
More ahead tonight, including what is behind the discussions about whether Vice President Kamala Harris is or isn't qualified to be at the top of the ticket. My colleague Simone Sanders joins me to discuss that later this hour. But first, Donald Trump's delay tactics in the numerous criminal trials against him have paid off bigly. But he is not done yet. I'm going to explain right after the break.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.